Hi, in this video I want to explain you a little bit how I made this vest. I did two previous series, one about surface crochet and one about crocheting filet crochet with a large mesh and how to do decreases that I used for the V-shaped neckline and here for the armholes. And well, that is what I will show you now, how I did this. I decided that I wanted to do a vest, and well, I didn't have a pattern, and so I thought, well, I do have clothing that I fit, and I will just take a sweater that I had, and then I started measuring the sizes. You can also measure yourself with the bust size and then divide it in half for the back, and the other half split it in two and use it for the two front sides. Before you start something like this, first make a little piece and block it to see what the measurements of your squares will be. So always start with that. And well, something about the armholes that I learned, because I learned something. I will tell you what happened. I first took that sweater, and then I started looking at the armhole, and I figured out how I would do my armhole. I will explain it later. And then I did the same for the back, and I started fitting it, and then I saw that on the back it was not what I liked. So I figured, well, what did I do wrong? And then I thought, well, maybe it's an old sweater and maybe it's stretched out too much. And well, I took a coat and I started over again. And I saw, oh, I have different shapes. And with my sweater, I used the front, and with my coat, I used the back. And well, then I redid the upper parts with the new thing that I figured out, and then I fitted it again, and then I thought, well, I'm not quite pleased with how the front is now. Okay, I didn't know what went wrong, so I started looking on the internet about how to make armholes, and then I learned something new. Because I learned that with the front side, your armhole go a little bit more deeper. So what I did first for my front was correct, and the back is now good. But okay, my daughter saw this shirt, and she has a smaller size than I have. So, and she fitted it, and she was like, "Oh, Mom, I like it, so I want to have it." And because it's a little bit oversized for her, okay, it's okay for her. But okay, I did want to mention that to you so that you don't make the same mistake. And well, okay, that was about the story of the mistake I made, and then I will show you how I did this. First, I will take the armhole. I took a A4 paper, and I took my coat or my sweater, and I put the paper on top of it, and I started to feel where the side of the armhole was, and I started drawing with a pencil and feeling where it was approximately. And then I first cut it out with some extra here, because I wanted to be able to change something if I didn't feel it correctly. So Then I made slits with my scissor on several places, and then I started folding it to the place where it should be, and then I laid it on top of my coat or my sweater again, and then I could see if I really correctly followed the line. And when I had the idea that okay, this is correct, I cut off the extra pieces, and so I had a model here that was closely fitting to my coat. I figured out how many holes I had in a row, and the measurements were I had 5 holes on 9 centimeters, so each hole was 1.8 centimeters. For the height of my holes, I saw that I had 5 holes and on 8 centimeters, so my squares are not entirely square, so each hole is 1.6 centimeters. So I started drawing here, and I made a dot here on 1.8 centimeters, this is 3.6, and so on and so on, and until I had the width of my armhole. And I did the same this way, only this time I did this on 1.6 centimeters, 3.2 centimeters, 4.8, and so on. And then I draw these lines straight up and straight to the left, and then you have kind of mesh here, and then you can start figuring out how you want to do the decreases. And sometimes you have to do a decrease of 1 hole over 1 row, or you have to do a decrease of 1 hole over 2 rows. If you look at the videos that I did about these decreases, you can see how I did that, and I will explain it a little bit better here, because the same thing I did for my armhole, the same thing I did for my arms. By the way, these arms are not here because my daughter didn't want them, but okay, I will just tell you about it. The same method I used for my arms, so I also did it for my arms. And for my sleeve, a short sleeve I wanted to have initially. And I figured out where the middle was. And here I did 0.9 centimeters and here 0.9 centimeters. So this is 1.8 centimeters. And so I did it in the middle. And then I did these lines every 1.8 centimeter to the side, and again each 1.6 centimeter up. And here you can see what I decided to do. Here I decided that I would do a decrease of 1 hole over 1 row. Here I decided to do a decrease of 1 hole over 2 rows. Here the same, 1 hole over 2 rows. Here's the same, 1 hole over 2 rows. And here I decided to do 1 hole over 1 row, and here again. So it's just a matter of, well, figuring out how it fits the best, and you start using that, and well, you can just try and see how it looks, because you see that it's very yeah, it's coming out correctly. And if you see, well, I don't like it, then you take it out and do it a little bit differently, and then you can always check with your pattern if it's still correct. So you know, just give it a try. And I did the same thing for my V-shaped neckline. I just measured how I wanted it and how many rows I had to do, and well, okay, that was about the mesh. Oh yeah, I will show you the sleeve that I did, part of the sleeve. And well, my daughter didn't want it, so I took it out again. But you see here that it flows very nicely, and I had it in the vest, and it worked very fine. Yeah, also about blocking this. Before I did the surface crochet, I blocked it. I made pictures of it, and I hope I can find them again. And if I do, I will add them to the video. But before you start with the surface crochet, please block your vest. About the surface crochet, I don't know if you have seen my video on the black shawl that I did, and I started there with a yarn that also has a color change, and I just started at one point, and I just started crocheting, and I just looked where it went, and I didn't really sorry, think about it. But for this vest I wanted to do well, a little bit extra. I wanted to have some colors in specific places, and I will start showing that sorry, I will show you that on the back. I took my ball of yarn and I looked at the color changes, and then I took one color change that or one color, the green, and I figured out where approximately the middle was, and then I cut my yarn there and I started to make two balls, and then I started crocheting this part of the pattern with one of the balls, and I worked this way, and then I took my other ball sorry, my throat is a little bit sore, and I started crocheting the other way, so you can see it is mirrored. The same thing, there were more color changes in that same ball, so I did the same thing. I will show you the front again. Well, here I started at this side and I started working this way, and here I started working that way. So it was completely mirrored, and that was the effect that I wanted to achieve with making this vest. So you can have kind of grip on it, how you want to use your ball of yarn. Well, about the surface crochet, like I said, you first have to block it, and then you can check how many stitches you need for making these diagonals. And as you can see, this is just one single line, and here I did two lines over each other, and well, here I make these lines go different directions and touch each other a couple of rows, and here I did them in the same way. So you can play around with it with yeah, all kind of designs, and well, my daughter was very pleased with it, how it looks. So okay, something about putting the pieces together, I forgot that. I used a mattress stitch for attaching the pieces to each other. So you see that it really looks nicely on the sides, and I use that also on the shoulders here. So well, let me think. I think that was all that I wanted to tell you about this vest. And well, just take some clothing that you really fit well and try things out. And you know, when with this mesh, it crochets very quickly, so it doesn't matter if you have to take something out because it doesn't quite fit, and then you do it again. So you know, it's not 2 weeks work. In just one evening I had the whole thing redone again from this side up, when I had a change in my armholes. So you know, just give it a try, and it will work out fine, as you can see. So well, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would also like it if you would subscribe to my channel, and then I will see you back in the next video.